Tonight's story isn't a ghost story or an urban legend. It's about one of Hollywood's strangest mysteries. A screenplay that many people came to believe was cursed. At first, it sounds like something straight out of a movie. Ironically, that's exactly what it was. Most of us have watched films about cursed objects, haunted houses, or mysterious events that seem impossible to explain. We enjoy them because they are fiction. But what happens when the making of a movie begins to resemble one of those stories? Could an ordinary screenplay somehow become associated with a series of bizarre tragedies? Well, that's the mystery we are exploring today. The story begins with an old folk legend from the mountainous regions of Ireland. According to local folklore, there was once an extraordinarily beautiful young woman who spent time in those mountains. A young man from the area fell deeply in love with her. Eventually, like most travelers, she left and returned home. Unknown to her, the young man secretly followed her, leaving behind his own village and family. Years later, fate changed his life completely. He rescued the daughter of a wealthy businessman, eventually became part of that influential family, built an enormous fortune, and achieved everything he had ever dreamt of. But success didn't bring him happiness. Obsessed by his lost love, he gradually lost his sanity. Over the years, this tragic tale became a well-known folk ballad. Eventually, someone in Hollywood discovered it and believed it had that potential to become a feature film. A production company purchased the rights and decided to adapt the old legend into a modern screenplay. Rather than keeping the original European setting, the writers relocated the story to North America. The central themes remained the same: love, obsession, wealth, and madness. But the locations, characters, and timeline were redesigned for an American audience. A respected Hollywood screenwriter was hired to transform the folktale into a complete screenplay. After months of work, the script was finished. The producers loved it. The director loved it. Everyone involved believed they had the next major box office success. Now came the most important decision. Who would play the lead role? After lengthy discussions, the filmmakers selected a well-known Hollywood comedian and actor named John Belushi. Belushi was one of the biggest comedy stars of his era. When the producers narrated the screenplay to him, he reportedly loved the story and immediately agreed to star in the film. Everything appeared to be moving perfectly. Pre-production began. The script was finalized. The studio started planning the filming schedule. Then, just 2 months after accepting the project, everything changed. In March 1982, John Belushi was found dead in a hotel room. He was only 33 years old. The official investigation concluded that he had died from a drug overdose. Authorities spent weeks investigating the circumstances surrounding his death. Eventually, a woman admitted to supplying him drugs that night and was later convicted. To Hollywood, it was a heartbreaking loss. To the production company, it meant something else as well. The lead actor was gone before filming had ever begun. Most people dismissed it as a tragic coincidence. After all, celebrities die unexpectedly. Projects lost actors all the time. The studio simply decided to find another star and continue production. No one could have imagined and that this would only be the beginning. Following John Belushi's death, the studio postponed production. For several years, the screenplay remained on the shelf while producers searched for another actor who could carry the film. Eventually, they found one. The new lead actor agreed to take the role and production preparations began once again. Filming finally started, but according to accounts surrounding the project, after only a few days of shooting, disagreements broke out between the actor and the filmmakers. There were creative differences over the screenplay, dialogue, and the direction of the film. The production stalled. Legal issues followed. Months turned into years. Before the project could, truly get back on track, another tragedy struck. The second lead actor died in a traffic accident. He was only 38 years old. According to reports from people who were there, something unusual happened in his final moments. Friends who reached the crash scene later claimed that just before he died, he appeared to be talking to someone no one else could see. Witnesses recalled hearing him repeatedly say, I don't want to die. Then, why? A few moments later, he quietly said, okay. Seconds afterward, he passed away. No one knows what he meant. No one knows who or what he appeared to be speaking to. Some dismissed it as the confusion of a dying man. Others believed it was something far stranger. Once again, production stopped. Still, the studio refused to abandon the screenplay. Years later, they approached another well-known comedian, John Candy. Candy was one of Hollywood's most beloved comedy stars. After hearing the screenplay, he reportedly accepted the lead role. But only a short time later, John Candy died suddenly at the age of 43 from a heart attack. At this point, people inside Hollywood began noticing an unsettling pattern. 3 actors connected to the lead role, 3 unexpected deaths. Many still insisted it was nothing more than a coincidence. After all, none of the deaths had the same cause. One was ruled a drug overdose, another died in a vehicle collision, another suffered a fatal heart attack. There seemed to be no obvious connection, but the strange events didn't stop there. Before his death, John Candy had recommended the screenplay to a close friend, suggesting there might be a supporting role available. Not long afterward, that friend also died unexpectedly from a brain hemorrhage. By now, rumors had begun spreading throughout Hollywood. People whispered that anyone connected to the screenplay was somehow meeting a tragic end. The studio denied every rumor. The screenwriter dismissed the stories as superstition. They insisted these were nothing more than unrelated tragedies being linked together after the fact. Still, finding actors became increasingly difficult. As the years passed, another respected comedian, Chris Farley, was approached for the lead role. Farley admired John Belushi and was reportedly thrilled by the opportunity to inherit a role originally intended for one of his idols. He enthusiastically accepted it. But before production could move forward, Chris Farley also died from a drug overdose. He was just 33 years old, the same age John Belushi had been when he died. The similarities shocked many people. Around the same period, another individual who had been told the screenplay story also died in a murder-suicide involving his partner. But then, the list of deaths associated directly or indirectly with the project had reportedly grown to 7. 5 people connected to major acting roles and 2 others who had become involved after hearing about the screenplay. Whether these events were connected or simply an extraordinary series of coincidences remains unknown. The screenwriter repeatedly rejected every claim of a curse. The production company also maintained that there was never any supernatural explanation. Officially, each death had its own separate cause. Unofficially, the screenplay had earned a frightening reputation throughout Hollywood. Actors quietly began refusing to even consider the role. Eventually, the studio made a final decision. The project was shelved indefinitely. The screenplay was locked away. The film was never completed. To this day, it remains one of Hollywood's most unusual stories. A screenplay surrounded by tragedy, speculation, and unanswered questions. Was it simply an unbelievable chain of coincidences? Or did the screenplay somehow earn a reputation that became impossible to escape? No one has ever been able to answer that question with certainty. By the late 1990s, the screenplay had developed a reputation that no producer wanted to deal with it. Officially, there was no evidence that the script itself was cursed. No investigator, psychologist, or law enforcement agency ever concluded that the deaths were connected. Every tragedy had its own explanation. One actor died from a drug overdose, another was killed in a traffic accident, one suffered a fatal heart attack, another died from a brain hemorrhage, others lost their lives under completely different circumstances. From a factual standpoint, there was no single cause linking all of them together, and yet The timing of those deaths continued to disturb people. Again and again, actors who accepted the lead role seemed to die before the film could ever be completed. Whether that pattern meant anything or whether people were simply connecting unrelated tragedies became a subject of endless debate. The screenwriter himself consistently rejected every rumor of a curse. He maintained that the screenplay was nothing more than a piece of fiction and that the deaths, tragic as they were, had been transformed into a myth by coincidence and public imagination. Many skeptics agreed. They argued that once people believe something is cursed, every future tragedy becomes part of the same narrative. Psychologists call this confirmation bias, our tendency to notice events that support an existing belief while ignoring everything that doesn't. But not everyone was convinced. Within Hollywood, whispers about the screenplay continued for years. Some actors reportedly refused to even read it. Others declined meetings with the producers after hearing the stories surrounding the project. As interest disappeared, the studio quietly shelved the film. The screenplay was archived. The project was abandoned, and despite several discussions over the years about reviving it, the movie was never made. Today, the screenplay remains one of Hollywood's most mysterious unfinished projects. Was it simply an extraordinary series of tragic coincidences? Did rumors and fear become so powerful that they created the legend themselves? Or is there still something about this story that no one has been able to explain? No one knows for certain. And perhaps that's exactly why this case continues to fascinate people decades later. Sometimes, the most unsettling mysteries aren't the ones with supernatural answers. They are the ones where the facts are real, the coincidences are undeniable, and the truth remains just out of reach. So what do you think? Was this nothing more than an unbelievable chain of coincidences? Or one of Hollywood's strangest unsolved mysteries?
Well, that's all for tonight. And if you like this story, please hit the like button. And if you want to hear more of such stories which are full of crime and horror incidents, true and real horror incidents, crime incidents, so please do subscribe the channel. Good night. Take care. Sweet dreams.